everybody, my name is Lawrence Mann, freelance illustrator and concept artist. In my last video about the Apple iPad Pro, I talked a lot about how it wasn't as good as other tablets. Yeah, okay, and I slagged it off a bit, but for good reason. And I only slagged it off in terms of how good it was for artists, not in terms of how good it was in general or how good it was for everybody. I only talked about how good it was for a very specific group of people. They've just released it. It's just hit the shops. And what have they done? They've done the stupidest thing ever. They've rushed it to the shops. Why? Why have they done this? Why have they done the stupidest thing ever? What have they done? If you don't know what they've done, then here it is. They've released the iPad Pro without releasing the pencil, whatever you want to call it, the pencil. They've released it without releasing the pencil or the keyboard. Why? Why release a bigger iPad without releasing the pencil or the keyboard? Sources say that this is primarily because they haven't made enough yet. And they just want to rush it out there to compete with other devices like the Surface Pro and the Surface Book. They just want to get it out there to get it in front of people, let people have a play with it. Because in the stores, they have got pencils and keyboards. And they're saying to people, well, you can pre-order the pencil, you can pre-order the keyboard, and you can have it within 2 to 4 weeks. Why would you go in, buy the iPad Pro, walk away with it then and there, and wait 2 to 4 weeks to get your pencil and keyboard in the post? Stupid. Okay, in my last video about the iPad Pro, the comment section was absolutely great, and I love comments and I always feed back to the comments. As you've noticed, I have a few people who always come back in the comments section, and we always have long and interesting conversations, and that's one thing I really do enjoy on YouTube and wasn't expecting when I first started. But yeah, the last video I did, we had some very interesting back and forth about the iPad Pro, and some people came in with some very iPad Pros are great, the best thing ever, and I wasn't that keen on that. And yeah, I'm expecting some on this video too. Yeah, and you know, there are some other tablets out there which aren't that great. You know, I was expecting the Google tablet to be something interesting, and it just wasn't. It was a basic tablet, and they didn't even try. Maybe that's just me from an artistic point of view, and it's just a surf the web kind of tablet. And yeah, I suppose that's great. But okay, the crux of it is, I said to people in the comments section on the last video that I wouldn't rush my opinion, that I would go down, have a play with the iPad Pro, and then if I didn't like it, then I'd trounce it. But I would reserve my opinion. So, based on the information I had, I don't think it was that great. And yeah, I waited until it came out. And now it's out. And even though you can't buy the pencil and you can't buy the keyboard, I could at least try them. So, we went to the store and tried it out. Yeah. So, here's a quick clip of me trying the pencil out and the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro, let's take a look at that. Coolio. That's me walking down to the Apple shop, if you didn't get that. So here we are, just arriving at the Apple shop. iPad Pros weren't front and centre. The watches were, funnily enough, still. But I suspected that the iPad Pros were going to be front and centre, big displays. I expected them in the windows. But no, they weren't. Maybe they'll be in the windows once the pencils and the keyboards arrive. But hey, who knows? So, okay, My first opinion when I first saw it was, wow, okay, yeah, it's big. But didn't blow me away as such. But that's probably because the iPads do have such a good display anyway. If you're one of those people who's super techie, then yeah, you're going to be like, wow, the tech specs on it. But if you're just a normal kind of user who's not blown away by tech specs like me, then you're just going to go, big iPad. So the first thing I did was I looked for the art apps, and the first one I recognised was the Adobe apps, obviously. So I cracked one open and grabbed a brush and I started doodling. And the first thing I did was I just randomly scribbled a line, because the first thing I wanted to know was, what's the latency like? In other words, how slow is the brush? If I squiggle really fast, how fast does the brush keep up with me? You know, if I squiggle a really fast line, does the brush slow down really, really quickly? No, the brush was really, really good at keeping up with me. The one thing I did notice actually really, really quickly about the Apple Pencil was that I didn't like the feel of it. When you go to the shop and you buy a cheap set of wooden pencils that have that uber gloss feel to them, that's what it felt like. It felt like a really cheap pencil. And the whole time I was there, I could hear the guy on the iPad Pro next to me. Oh, the pencil feels really nice. This really nice pencil. Oh, it feels like drawing with a real pencil. Oh! I wish I'd have recorded him, because he was such a cheesecake. No, I'm not going to say knob, but yeah, he's a knob. So, I don't know. While it actually performed better than I was expecting in lots of different programs that I tried, and you can see the clips here, the pencil itself felt really cheap to hold and not very nice and not very good quality. One thing that did come across that I did see in other people's videos that I'd watched on YouTube was the pencil's incredibly long. I figure this is because the battery it holds, but it's just so long, it sticks out of your hand, and for me, threw the entire balance off. They could have made it a bit thicker maybe and shortened the length, but for me it was just too thin and too long. And because the design of the end, because it's rounded and it has that little silver band, it's made to look like a pencil with an eraser, but it doesn't have an eraser. So at one point I actually flipped it over and tried to use the eraser that it doesn't have, and it freaked me out, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't have an eraser. So it annoyed me, and it's the charging cap. And then I tried the charging cap, you know, I plugged it in and it felt really super unstable, and loads of people pointed that out obviously, but yeah, I had to try it for myself and I didn't like it. But obviously, you know, my previous video said point proven for me. You know, I said a lot in the comments section about the fact that this can't run OS applications like Photoshop and Painter, you know, and lots of other full-blown applications. It can only run iOS apps. While I said that in the video, now I can fully justify that by saying none of them are that great, none of them are that in-depth, and that's the problem. I can't do that much in any of them. Maybe in this one I can do that, maybe in that one I can do that, maybe in this one I can do that. But I'd have to use about 30 of them to do a great painting. Why? Because none of them are full-blown applications. They're just little apps. And while Adobe's brilliant, I'd rather have Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. I tried it, I kept my word. I did find out some valuable things from actually using the iPad Pro. I found out that the pencil just doesn't feel quality, which I was actually surprised at. I thought it would feel a little better than it does. But it's just too glossy, too cheap feeling. You know, the sturdiness of it isn't great. The length, the thickness of it, I thought it would feel pretty thick, and it's really thin and flimsy and long. And it's just a big iPad. It's just like, they're never going to let a pencil work with any other iPad, because if they did, you'd just go, I'll settle for the iPad I've got with a pencil. A lot of people might be fine on just like an Air 2 style iPad. Do I think it's worth it? No, in the long run, no. The pencil just doesn't feel quality enough. I'd rather, I'd like to have OS. I'm a Mac user, I've used Mac for years. That feels good to me. But to be honest, Windows 10 is actually really good. Microsoft have said some pretty good things lately, and Apple just keeps saying stupider and stupider things, like, we're releasing the iPad, but we're not giving you the pencil. So, if Apple are continuing to say stuff like that, and Microsoft are going to continue to say stuff that I like, then I'm going to switch over to Microsoft and leave Apple alone. I would love to hear what you think about the iPad Pro, if you've had to play with it yet, and what you think of the pencil, and actually what you think about the keyboard. I saw a couple of keyboards about, but only one that was actually attached to the iPad Pro. People didn't seem to be interested at all in it. Let me know what you think about the pencil specifically if you played with it. I really want to know your thoughts on how you think it felt. What do you think about that? Don't come back to me if you love it. If you just think it's great and you're an Apple fan. Make sure to subscribe wherever that button is. I know there'll be a little one there, but that'd be absolutely great. And I shall see you in the next video. I have some very good, interesting ones coming up. I won't say which, because by the time later on you watch this, they might be out. There might be other new ones coming out. I don't release content on a scheduled basis. I just release content quite regularly. It may be tutorials, it may be just me sketching, it may be other commenting videos like this on other pieces of tech, it might be anything, but it's always going to be digital art based themed videos, and it is going to be quite regular. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, because I love a good conversation, and until then, keep paying. Well, thanks for watching, and be sure to comment, like, and even subscribe to my channel, Lawrence Can Draw.